Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Business BA Insight session. And today we'll be talking about the Lone BA. And I've got three excellent guests to join me to talk about a very topic. So let's introduce themselves, or let them introduce themselves. Starting with Stuart, please.
Thanks, John. I'm Stu Mullinger, and I'm a BA consultant. I've been in business analysis for about 20 years, and I work mostly in the legal sector.
Thank you very much, Stuart. And Alice?
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here tonight. I am Alice Svadchii. I am a French, no more business analyst because now I am a coach, a speaker, and a trainer in business analysis. Sorry for my English. As I said before we started, my accent so I will try to express what I want. Since 2020, I am a speaker, a coach, a trainer in business analysis, and I have different careers before being a business analyst. I have been working in business as a business controller, for instance, also commercial. I know how to become a business analyst while you have a first career in other career. And what else? I have a YouTube channel as well dedicated to French-speaking business analysts, also a website sorry, it's quite long compared to Stuart's presentation. So also a website with a lot of articles and free resources to help business analysts, French-speaking business analysts. And that's all, sorry.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you. And what we'll do, we'll try and get that link from you later as to what your site is and your channel, so that if there are anyone watching this who would prefer listening in French accent, or perhaps if they can use I think you can translate right into English on YouTube,
title, yes.
Then they can give that a try. So brilliant. Thank you, Alice. And Claire.
Yep, so I'm Claire Chaundy. Like Stu, I work in the legal industry. I'm a lone BA working in a law firm of about 1,000 staff, which I've been doing for about 6 years. And I was the first BA, so there wasn't a BA function prior to that. So all sorts of extra added fun trying to set that up.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claire. Thank you very much. And good. All right, so let's dive into the first question then. And let's pose this one to Stuart first. In terms of what are the biggest benefits or challenges associated with being a lone BA?
I think in terms of benefits, I'll start with the good stuff. You get to define your own approach. You get to decide, what does being a BA mean here, and what am I going to do? How am I going to approach my work? What techniques am I going to pull out of my toolbox? How am I going to design this workshop? All of that is all in your gift, which can be absolutely fantastic. But the flip side is that the challenge is no one's going to tell you how to do any of those things or what the right answers are, what's going to work best. And you're the poster child for business analysis in your organization. You're the person selling what good business analysis is, even what business analysis means. So there's a huge responsibility on you there, which I think you can feel quite heavily when you're the only BA. And so that sort of translates, I think, into challenges in effectiveness, both side and feel. So I think there's a lot there, which I'm sure we'll unpack as this discussion goes on. But it's a privilege and a burden.
And it's a good place to start, Stuart, in terms of thinking about responsibility. And for some, they'll love that and love the fact they can shape everything on their own. And for others, might prefer a little bit more support. But it's good, excellent start. Thank you. Alice, I'd be interested in hearing your perspective.
Yeah, well, I agree with Stuart, but I just would like to point that when you talk about business analysts, at least in France or in French-speaking countries, we have a various number of etiquettes of job titles, not only business analyst. For instance, you can be a product owner. This professional is also a practitioner in business analysis, proxy product owner, but also project manager. I don't know how to translate it in English, but in France we say project manager, but on business side. So MOA, maîtrise d'ouvrage. Sorry, I don't have the translation. You have dozens of job titles referring to business analysis. So it depends, I would say, to your position within the organization, so the final customer or the IT service provider. So basically, the benefits are different depending on your job title. But basically, I agree with you, Stuart, that you are the only BA, so you can manage your techniques, your agenda, etc. Another benefit is also, I think, that you have a wide range of activities, which is really fantastic. Well, for me and for most of BAs, practicing your job with a single or maybe two or twice the three activities is boring. So when you are just one BA in the organization, it's something that is really interesting, that you can manage a lot of different activities. I will not talk about the flip side. I think it's another question later on.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Alice. And Claire, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult going after Stu because he makes brilliant points, as did Alice. And I'd say the same. I think from my personal experience, being a lone BA and also having to be the one to set up the function was particularly challenging. The benefits really is having been a senior manager previously and managed a team, I was quite comfortable with thinking about setting the strategy and what the service is going to look like and all those good things. But I couldn't really do that initially because I hadn't really learned how to be a BA. And I think when you are the first BA and you're setting up a function, you are particularly at risk of who you're learning from if you don't go and get a professional qualification initially. So in my case, I had a really brilliant applications and development manager teach me, but he was very, very much focused on requirements engineering. So although that's a really important part of the BA toolkit and what you're going to deliver as a service, it wasn't really until I went and got qualified to do the BCS diploma that I really understood the wider value that BAs can bring. And I think it's only really now that I'm more confident in going back and thinking, okay, what does this mean in terms of a strategy and a service delivery approach, and you know what is relevant and helpful and useful and brings value in my specific organization. So yeah, it's lovely to have the freedom to innovate and decide all of that stuff, but it's a bit chicken and egg. How do you actually really exercise that if you don't really know what you're doing as a BA initially?
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense, Claire, because it feels like for people, as you said, with different experience, they will have a different viewpoint, I suppose, and different comfort levels on being a lone BA. I mean, I guess ideally, being a lone BA, you would have had the opportunity to learn your craft a little bit elsewhere, or maybe working with others, so that you get to bring some of their good practice with you. Whereas perhaps working as a lone BA and you're learning BA from the start is quite difficult, because you can probably only really look outside for other business analysis inspiration, whereas internally you'll be is a different set of stakeholders. Yeah. And really, I mean, I run the risk of sort of like repeating almost everything that a few of you have said. I mean, I think for me, you know, the pros, which I will agree with, have already been mentioned, so I won't go over those again. But I think just some of that, you know, what doesn't work in the advantage of the lone BA is that ability to have someone else peer review your work as well. So it's all very well, you know, as Claire and you've all mentioned, sort of having somebody to feed off of. But when you formally need someone to review what your output is, it could be useful to have a business analysis lens on that, I would say. But as is expected, you've all done such a good job with the first question, I don't have too much to say. So we'll keep that up if we could. So let's think then about, we've spoken about some of the pros and some of the cons. But Alice, could we start with you in terms of how you might overcome some of the challenges of being a lone BA?
Well, I took some notes before this interview, and I was wondering what does it mean to be a lone BA, because there are so many contexts within an organization. So just like, let me take my notes. So for instance, I noted down that if you are working as a BA in an IT service provider, you may be the only one BA within the organization, but it's rare. Normally, there are other BAs within the IT service organization. The thing is that normally you are working for a final an end customer, so you don't you don't cross the other BAs of your employer. So it's just like you are the only BA of your organization. Then you can be also the sole BA within the end customer. And I don't know how it is in the UK or in English speaking countries, but in France there is a new trend, but it's really recent, because until I would say 2021, 80% of the missions of business analysis were carried by IT service providers, so by external providers. And since 2021, approximately, a lot of final customers do hire business analysts. So it's brand new. So for those new employers of BAs, sometimes there is just one BA within the IT department, for instance, and it's brand new. So it's sorry, I just spent some minutes to explain the context of background. If it's too time consuming, just let me know. Okay. Then okay, so sometimes also on a project there is just one BA, and sometimes there are 2, 3, sometimes more BAs. So it happened to me to have colleagues, BAs. But normally we are dedicated to a certain scope, so business scopes or a technology scope. So we have maybe the same deliveries, the same activities, but not in the same time, and we don't cross we are not in the same meetings, or it's just like we were working separately. And so also I noticed that if you are intern to a final customer, the BAs normally, well, in France at least, they are not trained as BAs, and they come from, for instance, business divisions, so within the company, or sometimes the BA was a developer before that, and he became a BA. So I noticed that when you come from the business divisions, and when you come from the IT, well, when we were a developer, you don't understand each other, because a former developer becoming business analyst, they have a really technological background, and they are focused on their prior background because they are more at ease with it, and they are not really at ease with the business things, you know. While on the contrary, the BAs coming from business divisions, they are not at ease at all about technological things, matters, and they are more at ease concentrating on their on their strengths, which are business matters. So you may feel at ease, but separately. As BAs but mainly you don't feel at ease at all. It's
and it's really interesting perspective actually on that, Alice, because it shows that, you know, that many people could become lone BAs even in an organization where there are many in the first place. So I think it's important to recognize that.
And I forgot a case, sorry, when you are a freelance, so you are not hired by or employed by IT service provider or the final customer.
Yeah.
So you are really lone BA. So it was just to express the context. So you wanted me to talk about the challenges maybe I can ask Stuart or.
Yeah, so let's if you've got any challenges, we'll start with Stuart actually, and then we'll come back, Alice, if you've got any additional ones. So let's go with Stuart.
So, yeah, I think what Alice says there about those different kinds of lone BA that you can be, that really resonates with me. As a consultant, I'm always the only BA in the situation, and the pressure there to, even just when I'm pricing my work to do a proposal for a potential client, I have to work out, okay, what's my approach going to be here? How much work is that? How much am I going to charge for that? And I've got no one else there to sort of lean on for that and sense check what I'm doing. But what I've realized over the last few years is I can't be an expert at everything that a BA can do. But what I can do is connect with people that are experts in all of those different areas. So the BA community is a huge part of my world these days, and I think it's a really connecting with other BAs is a really great way of overcoming those challenges about not feeling like you understand everything about an organization or about the BA role. You can draw on other people's experiences. I work in legal, but I can talk to BAs that I know that work in financial services or work in the civil service, for example, and they've all got experiences that I can draw on. And they've got experiences of all of these techniques. So I've got a book on my shelf with 99 different BA techniques there. I'm not an expert in all of them, but I can open that book and look at one and go, oh, I know who I can talk to about that. And I can drop someone a message and have a chat with them. How did they deploy this? What worked for them? Why would they use it again or not use it again? All of those things I can tap into. So yeah, my go-to thing for overcoming almost all of the challenges is BA community.
Perfect. Likewise, Stuart. Claire, what would be your perspective?
So I think the question was how you overcome the challenges of being a lone practitioner, and I've tried to come up with some quick fire tips because I think there's quite a few. I think firstly, if you're doing a qualification, particularly if you're looking at doing an apprenticeship, find a provider that does the classroom aspect in person. I think it gives you that opportunity to build really strong relationships with people who possibly live or work near you, and you're more likely to be able to meet up and have those in-person coffees or chats, which can be really valuable. And that's one of my big regrets when I did my courses. I didn't check that. I didn't even think about that, and it was all Zoom calls. And I don't think, other than the odd person that's connected on LinkedIn afterwards, that hasn't really happened. So that's one tip. The other one is use your BA skills to root cause 5 whys and understand what specifically it is you're feeling isolated about and what you might be able to do about that. Stu touched on the resilience point, so there might be some soft skills development you need to do. Empathizing about difficult projects or difficult stakeholders. You're probably not the only one on the project team, so maybe there's a friendly face there that you can have a chat with, or maybe if you work in a PMO, the other project managers might be able to lend you an ear if you need a bit of tea and sympathy. She's obviously mentioned the communities. Peer review is a really, really hard one, because how do you know if you've got it right? Experiment with safely and with good regard to information security, but experiment with AI. Ask it questions. I'm preparing for this meeting. These are the questions I'm thinking about asking. Is there anything else you think I might ask to help me understand this situation? And if you can't do that, or you don't want to, maybe there's other people on the project team that you can do a kind of peer review with. So for example, I might go to one of the developers and say, look, I've heard you're going to be resourced to this project. We're not quite ready to get into the solution design yet, but here's the use cases. Here's the sort of things that are starting to emerge from this. From your perspective, with other development work that you've done in the past, are there any other, is there anything that looks missing? Is there anything else you think I can ask? So just, I guess, be a bit creative about who you go to. Be absolutely military about knowledge management, even if it's just you sitting in a room thinking, what could I do differently? What could I do better? And think about reusable artifacts. build templates, checklists, question prompts, everything that you can to try and bake that quality and continuously improve what you're doing, so you're learning from yourself, even if you're not learning from someone else. And then my last 2 points: think about, if you can build that network, creating an action learning set with peers who might be at the same stage in their career as you, and maybe just come together, 4 or 5 of you, and just talk shop, maybe once a fortnight or once a month, where you Chatham House rules and just say, look, here's something I'm working on, you know, let me have your feedback. And then finally, the kind of 2 hats thing with selling the service and delivering the service. I think when it comes to selling the service, you've got to be an absolute time management ninja when it comes to targeting who it is internally as an in-house BA you need to build those relationships with. What I did is analyze everyone that requested a project over 3 years, and it was actually quite a small list of people. So now I've got a really strong target list of them and their managers, if I'm looking to kind of influence and sell around the BA service, who I need to target. So that's my kind of quick list of tips for that one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Claire. It makes me think as well that that, you know, whilst there might not be any true BAs actually on the team or in the organisation, there will, as you point out, you know, there will be people that have some of the capabilities that you might utilise, or indeed, you know, it's sometimes useful to just ask someone who hasn't been involved in the analysis to have a look at what you've pulled together and try and get their view on whether it makes sense or not. And I think maybe that's the ultimate test. If you can get someone who is totally unfamiliar with the topic or the subject, and are looking at your analysis with clear eyes, if they can then tell you what they understand and play back what they understand, that's really a really good test of how effective your analysis is going to be at relaying it to people who probably have a bit more context.
Yeah, and I think it's getting away from that feeling that, you know, we're supposed to be collaborative in this process, so we should be checking in with our stakeholders regularly, and business analysis is a task as much as it is a role. So there's probably other people that are doing business analysis as part of their roles, and just kind of, you know, getting to know them and you know, kind of making friends with them is really helpful too.
That's right. Yeah, there may be people out there as well that want to learn business analysis. So it might be a good opportunity to trade with them, you know, share what you know, and they can share what they know. Alice, do you have any additional challenges that you might wish to add?
Well, yeah, it's a challenge that was reported to me by one of my students. So she is maybe 50, so she was a former developer, and she is her boss is at the manager of the IT department. And the challenge, her project is this one. They gathered a lot of data. So, you know, with IA, etc. So the company gathered a lot of external data, and external and internal data. So her boss says, okay, now please, we don't know what to do with all of those data. It would be great to share with the business divisions, and to share to the contributors, to the users, and to try to find how to use this huge quantity of data. So she told me that, well, she had no training in business analysis, like 98% of French-speaking business analysts, they are all trained, how do you say in English, sorry, self-educated, you know? So they have no education in BA, and her problem is when she's conducting workshops, for instance, she cannot succeed in getting her contributors brainstorming on innovation, on ideas, because she wanted them to find ideas on how to use the data, this huge quantity of data, but she doesn't succeed. So during the workshop, the course, she asked me how to do that, because we have been doing that since 2023, and there is no result, no outcome, and the contributors, the end user, doesn't know how to use those data. So it's a big problem, a big challenge, I think, in business analysis, is how to gather information and solutions as well, how to make your contributors brainstorm in order to invent solutions, or solutions that you don't have in mind, because you are not the business analyst is not the one who knows. He's the one who helps contributors to brainstorm, to find solutions. But it was a major challenge that my student encounters during the project, but it's also this kind of challenge that is reported to me very often. I don't know if it's clear.
And how has she overcome that, Alice? Has she got beyond?
Well, it's in progress, but my suggestions was, for instance, to learn techniques, so elicitation techniques. That is to say, you have various, and not especially in business analysis scope, but also in marketing, in innovation, sorry, let me show you. I have, sorry, it's all in French, but for instance, I don't know if you don't see it. It's
a little bit blurry, but we've got something there.
Okay, it's a book. So anyhow, it's a book. It's a book with 70 tools for creativity. So it's an exercise, it's icebreakers and so on. But I had also this kind of challenges in my own practice. Sometimes the tools you have in your toolbox are not enough. You don't know how to make your contributors, to make your stakeholders brainstorm and find solutions. So you have to learn outside of business analytics scope, maybe in marketing, in sales, in whatever. Sales is a good scope. Commercial, must try to understand the customer and then to sell something. So they have a lot of techniques. So a major challenge, I think, for business analysts is to elicitate, so to gather needs and then to find solutions, not to find alone, but in collaborations with a lot of other contributors.
That's right. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and it's particularly important, therefore, when you're thinking a little bit outside the box, a bit more broader in terms of who can provide a perspective, who can think about the solutions as well. I'd agree. And really, I mean, once again, I run the risk of repeating everything you say if I go into too much detail with my own responses. But I think in terms of overcoming those challenges that we've discussed anyway, you've all sort of articulated that we can go and conduct training or attend training, as Claire said, ideally in person is better as you get to meet more people. There's resources online that you can learn from. There's a network online as well, be it the IIBA or more broadly, BCS. So many, many different places that people can go to inside and outside of the BA community to get some support. Therefore, I won't add anything further. But as we're talking about, we're sort of starting to touch on now where a lone BA can get support from. I know some of you sort of talked about some of this already in terms of more broadly, training providers or broadly other ways that we've just discussed. I wonder, Claire, I'm going to ask you first, if I may. Is there any sort of any specific ways that a lone BA can gain expertise? I
think the main one for me, I think, other than the professional qualifications and the community that Stuart has touched on, really is mentoring. I've had the benefit of being mentored twice now. Once by Dave Beckham, shortly after I finished my qualification, because I felt like I had all these skills and I was trying to boil the ocean. So where do you start? And he was really, really helpful in helping me kind of boil down really what it was I was trying to achieve. The irony is not lost on me that as a BA, I wasn't able to do that myself, but I think sometimes you just can't see the wood for the trees. So that was great from a chance to have mentoring from someone who didn't work in the legal industry. But what I found equally useful, my organisation as a law firm has membership of ILTA, which is a legal technology association. They also have a mentoring scheme. So I was able to be mentored by an experienced BA that worked in legal in the US, but still had a really, really great depth of understanding of the BA role. And so that was really helpful to be able to ask the sorts of questions like, you know, are these challenges specific to my specific industry, or does this happen everywhere? And, you know, just that benefit of all those years under his belt. And, you know, we've developed a great friendship, and he's, you know, just hit me up whenever you've got a problem. And that couldn't be more wonderful, really, to know that I can do that. And I will use it judiciously, obviously.
Thank you, Claire. Yeah, a couple of excellent points there, I mean, around that mentoring, and then, of course, thinking about those networks that, you know, those other networks are not necessarily a BA network, but there'll be people in there for other bodies, of course, that could do business analysis. So, yeah, a couple of really good examples. Thank you. Stuart.
I suppose you need to think about what do you want expertise in, because it might be that you're looking for subject matter expertise. So I work in legal, as does Claire, and yeah, if I want to know more about that, I'm going to have to go and talk to some lawyers, or better yet, go and talk to some legal secretaries, because they know how things are really done. So yeah, you might want to talk to people within the industry, but in terms of business analysis expertise and developing those skills, there are so many resources out there online, most of them for free. There are people giving their time to run webinars, run face-to-face events where you can try new skills. Yeah, there are magazines. There's like the BA Digest magazine. There are conferences that happen. There's BA Conference Europe has just happened. There'll be BA Life happens next spring. All of these things, people in the BA world are giving their time, energy, and knowledge out there. Just hoover it up. There's so much there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. And perhaps for those people that do hoover up all of that knowledge, as you say, you know, maybe they'll get to a point and they'll think, actually, I've got something to share with others when they need it as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important, actually, that there's a lot of people sharing their stories, and that's hugely valuable. Hearing what's worked, what hasn't worked in different organizations, you know, the horror stories of the project that went horribly wrong. You learn as much from that as you do from hearing about what went right. So, yeah, look out for those.
Absolutely. And Alice, same question to you, please.
Yes. So, in France, we are in the middle age compared to you. So that is to say, we have almost no resource in business analysis. We have no forums, no community, or almost nothing. And we are, I think, maybe 8 or 10 years behind you regarding the maturity of companies and BAs, and regarding the maturity on the BA knowledge. And so the problem is for French-speaking BA as well. French BAs first, but also in Belgium, also in Canada, Quebec, because I have a wide French-speaking community, and there we all are really far behind you. You know, we don't have this community. So when we are looking for information, it's very difficult because there is almost nothing. For instance, I tried to animate a group on Slack with business analysts, but they have no willingness to discuss. They don't ask questions. They don't answer questions because they are so used to work alone that they don't dare. And also because some are discussing with me face to face, but they don't dare to discuss within a group. So they fear they are not legitimate. I don't know if it's word.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, to express an opinion. And because as I said, 98% of us, of BAs, are self-educated. So they feel they have no good practices and they feel they are not legitimate to share opinions since they are not confident in their abilities. So in France, it's really the situation we live. And I hope it will change. So personally, I am a volunteer at IIBA France chapter. So I try to give my time and to promote good practices. But I am also a self-educated BA. I was not trained, and so it's difficult to exchange, to discuss with other BAs, French-speaking BAs. So our solution is to look outside France or outside French-speaking countries, so in English-speaking countries, and it's the other difficulty is that the market is different. That is to say, the needs of our final customers are not the same as yours. And so it's really difficult for the French-speaking BAs to find ideas and good practices and help outside. And as I said, they don't dare. And what they don't dare, they think there is nothing outside their own scope. And so everything needs to be done.
I can absolutely relate to that, Alice, actually, because I mean, I guess maybe I'm not alone in this, but I haven't been tapping into and engaging the BA community throughout being a BA. I've been a BA and involved in business analysis for a good 20 odd years, and I think the amount of that time that feel like I've been engaged with the wider BA community outside my own organisation has probably been 2 or 3, maybe 3. So quite a small proportion of it, really. And I feel like a lot of that might be because almost like a lack of awareness that there is this community out there. And I suspect that maybe there's a load of BAs in England and UK and everywhere actually that are equally not looking to the wider community. But I really do like the point that you make about the fact that you haven't just got your own community in your local area, but where you've got a connected language that you have therefore the opportunity to speak to people all over the world in many cases. And we're both fortunate in that English is spoken a lot of places in the world. French is spoken in a lot of different places, as you point out, be it in Africa or in Canada and in Americas as well. So at least we've got a few places outside of our native country to go and reach out to. So excellent points. Thank you. I mean, I think in terms of, I think all I'd add to those points, and it sort of follows on really from what Stuart said earlier on, really, is around, I find books a really good resource to help give a bit of information as to, what's out there, what the possibilities of business analysis are, what approaches different people take, and maybe some approaches or techniques that could apply to me. And I think the likes of Amazon are a pretty good gauge for sort of helping you, based on the ratings and the number of books purchased, to have a sort of pretty good idea of some of the books to probably focus in on first. I've got a whole raft of them, but I'll wave around Helen's book that I sort of plug every now and then. That's there, and I've normally got different books to my side. There's always I can learn from as well. And I've also found that actually once you've learned a little bit from some of these authors that are publishing content on business analysis, they're generally really approachable. So it's someone you can reach out to. So whether it is Helen or whether it's Debbie Paul or anyone else for that matter, they've all been really approachable. So that's what I'd add on that point. I guess another question, is we sort of covered sort of in that last question themes and trends as well, which we can also access through the community. So we won't cover that question specifically. But in terms of imposter syndrome, if that's a term that you all recognise, have any of you ever come across sort of imposter syndrome as being a lone BA? And if so, outside of maybe what you've explained, are there ways that you might overcome it? And Stuart, perhaps if I can ask you that question first.
Yes, I've definitely felt that. And the more that I speak to other BAs, it seems we've all suffered that and continue to suffer it. I mean, it never goes away.
That's right.
But yeah, what I found was I was in a role in an organization for 7 years where I felt I was struggling to be the full BA. I went through I went through getting certifications, and that opened my eyes to everything that a BA could be. And I found myself looking at then the job that I was doing, comparing it to this sort of grand idea of a BA, and thinking, well, I'm not doing half of these things. You know, is this me? Am I doing the wrong things? Am I not really a BA? And in particular, I realized I was heavily relying on my knowledge of the organization. I was relying on my connections within the organization. You know, I knew who to go and talk to in accounts. I knew who to go and talk to in the property department. And that would be how I was getting things done. And I probably wasn't making full use of the skills, the tools and techniques that I had, because I wasn't stepping back from it. I was just sort of working in the moment in those connections with people. And to be honest, it took leaving the organization to really open my eyes to the scale of the gap for me. It was only when I realized on getting a job elsewhere that I did have marketable BA skills. I'd learned things and I had experience, and I was able to do these BA activities elsewhere. And that was huge for me. And it really lifted my confidence. I won't say imposter syndrome has left me completely. I don't think it does. But understanding that you've got something marketable can be a really big boost.
Yeah, I would agree. Alice, have you ever had any ever suffered like the rest of us on imposter syndrome?
Of course. I'm sure no BA did not suffer of imposter syndrome. It's impossible because well, our soft skill in empathy, communication makes us very sensitive to do we bring enough value to our users and final customers, etc. So we are always wondering if we are doing right. So first of all, but I'm just regarding my own career. Before that, I was a controller, so a business controller, so in finance and business controller. Then I did a diploma in IT. So during 1 year, I learned different languages, etc. And then I became a freelance well, I was a freelance consultant. I was not even named business analyst because in France, at least in 2008, it was the wording consultant. It was not business analyst. It was not known at all. So I was a consultant. So of course, I remember my first mission. I understood a word out of 2 when my project manager was talking to me. And the problem is that I was a freelance, so I could not say. I was just not understanding what he was telling me. So I just, was trying to understand, to do my best. And of course, not telling, I was completely lost. So I learned my job one day after the other. And my approach, as I was a freelance, I decided to explore a wide range of activities and sectors, etc. So I decided at the end of each mission, I chose a new mission which was different from the prior one. So it was the sector, so business, the customer, the kind of activities, etc. So within a few years, I learned a lot of activities and best practices. But well, it was not best practices. I learned to work within a project background. And to be honest, I remember when I started, I even didn't know what was an IT project. I was not skilled and trained on project management. I didn't know it exists. And I see that every day when I train business analysts. First of all, they are not trained on business analysis practices, but they are not trained on project management, while it's so important in our organization. And as I said, we are in the middle of so many disciplines, so business fields, which is a huge sector, company, what else? Also technological matters, which is also very huge, and project management and human being. So we are in the middle of all of that. So how it's impossible not to doubt, not to feel imposter syndrome, because it's impossible to know everything or to feel comfortable with everything. We are surrounded by experts in business, experts in IT, experts in project management, experts on whatever you want. And we don't feel as expert as they are. And the thing is that we are requested to find solutions to their problems. So it's so complicated. And so I try to reassure my colleagues to say it's normal that you feel insecure and you doubt of yourself. But if you learn your job, which is business analysis, if you have these skills, then you have the ability to do your job with more confidence and to have a position of a wise advisor and not of someone who has all solutions. We are just here to advise and to help organization to take decisions. But yes, of course, I don't practice business analysis as a business analyst consultant since many years, 4 years, and I am no more in contact of the operational needs myself. But I trained thousands of colleagues, French-speaking colleagues, so I know the background and the context through them. But if now I should come back as a consultant, I would, of course, suffer from imposter syndrome, even though I am a trainer and a speaker. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the point there that was very clear was like, we've just got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, really, because it's going to happen regularly. Really, Claire, what would be your perspective? If we've left any room for you to add any extra?
Luckily, you have. I think it's about bringing a bit of mindfulness to the table. Yes, we're all going to feel like that, and it's about normalizing those feelings and starting to talk about them. But only you know when it's really hitting home and when you're really having one of those moments of feeling like an imposter. So I would encourage you to just keep a bit of a diary for a little while and start to understand what's triggering that off. And then sit down and do some BA work on yourself to understand what's underneath it, because maybe it's because there's a skills gap and you're not feeling confident perhaps in a certain technique, or maybe it's something a bit broader around soft skills. So you just need to be honest with yourself if that's what's going on, and think about how to bridge that gap. If it's just because, like I say, just because that diminishes it somewhat, but there's all sorts of flavors of imposter syndrome, so trying to understand what flavor you are when you have those moments can be really helpful. So are you a complete perfectionist? Are you someone who feels that you have got to be the hardest worker or achieve the highest levels of whatever with what you're doing? I know, I mean, taking it slightly outside of the BA world, but I mean, I'm a really keen pianist, and I remember going to see one of my favourite pianists that I developed a bit of a friendship with, and he came and had a drink with me afterwards, and I said, I just don't know how you do it. It's just natural. Even though I'm a big kind of learning and growth and everything can be learned, when it came to something like piano that I really adore, I still had this sense that he was some kind of magical pixie that just kind of channeled this talent. And he's like, no, we just don't talk about the fact that we slog and we slog and we slog and we slog behind the scenes. So it's odd how we accept the need to practice and train when it comes to sports or music or all these other fields, but when it comes to business skills, somehow we expect to just somehow do a course and suck them up, and I did a certificate in that, so now I can do it, and every time I need to do a use case analysis, it's going to be easy peasy, and it's not. This stuff really takes practice. So I think it's also giving yourself time to practice those things, understanding, kind of sometimes even reframing as well. I mean, one of the things I've really noticed over the last year is where I get frustrated when I don't get involved in projects. I was really beating myself up and thinking somehow it's a failing of me. But actually, when I took a step back and really had a look at it, it's not. Sometimes it's because I haven't sold the service, but other times it's just because that people didn't think. And often, actually, you're certainly not the center of their universe. They and their problem and their project are the center of their universe. And sometimes it's about being brave and saying, look, I know the project's already underway, but actually, I think I can still add some value here. So, you know, could we have a coffee? So sometimes you've got to really be bold. And I mean, Helen Holder recently talked about strengths at the BA Europe conference, and I think doing a strengths inventory, understanding your strengths, also your weaknesses, puts you in a position of informed power so that you've got a plan, you can go and do something about it. But yes, it is normal, and it doesn't mean even if you do all those good things, you're still not going to have imposter syndrome come and bite you on the bum. It just means that you're just taking a bit of a pause to notice it and acknowledge it, but not let it consume you, I guess.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, but wise advice there, Claire. And it just goes to demonstrate, as with all the points made as well, that, you know, any area, anything new to us that we'll be involved in, or we're watching others who are performing better or have more experience in it, it's natural to feel a little bit of imposter syndrome and feel like you're out your depth a little bit. But as you point out, you know, everyone that we're watching, who we put on a pedestal, they were where we are at a certain point as well. So it's just a point of recognizing that, and then trying to reflect on what you've seen, what you've observed of your performance, how you're going to tackle your situation and improve, and trying to take some necessary steps, either alone or with your community, to take that forward, I would say. And I mean, I think there's probably the last thing or additional thing I might add there is that, you know, sometimes, you know, you can work closely with your management team and those that your line managers, and they may not be BAs, but they can sort of help you and support you, I'm sure, in figuring out a plan that will help you be more connected, or to learn more, or to develop and not feel an imposter. Or even from my experience, just trying to chuck yourself into the deep end and do these things. And you know, there's no getting over it. I think just when you think you're over being an imposter in the BA world and moving around to different roles and doing a decent job, then you start presenting at conferences and you feel like an imposter there as well for a little bit. So there's nothing, no end to it. But there's always a happy step to come, I would say.
I have a remark. So I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but at least in France, as the maturity level in BA is very low in companies and also in the BA community, the problem is that when BAs are hired, as I said, they are not skilled, nor trained. And so there are different cases, but basically when they are hired and that when the employer says, okay, we are sure you can work as a BA, we need you, you know, you have business skills and that's all we need, and for the rest you will be onboarded and it's all right. But in reality, especially when they are working for IT providers, they are not onboarded at all. They are directly working for the final customer with very few assistance from their employer. So, and when they ask for help, usually if the the IT provider, well, it's really complicated to find help within their employer. So they suffer from that imposter syndrome more and more, and they lack of confidence more and more. And at one point, they have a few possibilities to get out of this toxic situation. Really, it's sometimes very complicated. This week, while we are on, two cases, two women told me, you know, it was so hard for me that I preferred to have a baby to get out of the mission because I didn't know how to get out of the mission. My employer didn't want to listen to me. He said, "Oh, okay, it's okay. The final customer is fine with you. He says you are doing a really good job." But the ladies were telling me, but I felt so bad. So I didn't understand why the final customer was happy with me, because I have the impression that I did not bring any consistent or any value to the project. So big imposter syndrome, and no assistance. At least in France, it's unfortunately it's not rare, and so it's not the same situation. I have the impression than the one you live in your country. And I have a lot of persons that are coming to me and saying, we are not assisted, we are not helped by our employers, because, for instance, they think that communication skills are enough to be a good BA, or business skills are enough to be a good BA. And in other projects or missions, it's different. It's technical skills are enough. That is to say, they want a data analyst, but not a business analyst. And
Right. Yeah.
you know, it's the maturity in business analysis which is really different in France. So unfortunately, the lone BA is really lone in France.
Well, I'm hopeful that sessions like this can fix that anyway. But we're just about out of time, so I think all that probably remains is that recognise the insight that you've kindly shared. So thank you all for that. I'm sure whether people are watching this and they're a lone BA, or they're new to business analysis, or whether they're a little bit longer in the tooth like myself, they'll all get something from it, even if it's just reassurance and a few ways to overcome some of those challenges that we've just discussed. So just like to say thank you once more, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in the BA community, wherever that may be. So thank you.
Thank you.